welcome to Monday's Mental Mistakes. This week is the second in a series of 3 videos about naive realism. Naive realism has 3 tenets to it, and in this video we will cover the second of these. The second tenet of naive realism is the assumption that other rational people will agree with me. That is, that reasonable people will generally share my opinions, beliefs and attitudes. Naive realism makes us more likely to expect others to conform to our opinions. At the same time, we're unlikely to see others who disagree as doing so from a rational position. Here's a simple example. I have an imaginary world. In my world, there are many things and activities from the real world, but some activities and things are not present there. There is a single unifying rule governing what is and is not in my world. I'm going to give you a list of statements about my world. In my world, there are trees and grass, but no flowers. In my world, we eat strawberries and coffee, but not cake. In my world, we play tennis and football, but not cricket. In my world, there are streets, but no roads. Unsure what the rule is? The answer is that all the things in my world have a double letter in their name. Suppose I was to give someone 25 statements like this, and after that, they are unable to identify the rule. Is this likely to suggest that they are worse at these kind of puzzles than an average person? If you think it is, then congratulations. You suffer from naive realism, like the rest of us. Research has shown that this is quite a difficult task, and that even with 25 statements, only about 1 in 4 people successfully figure out the underlying rule. So if someone is unable to, it puts them squarely in the majority. However, people who know the rule, either by working it out themselves or by being told, tend to underestimate the difficulty of the task. And because of naive realism, they attribute others' inability to identify the rule to a lack of puzzle-solving ability. That is, we tend to assume that others who are unlike us must be less rational than we are. The principal way to counter naive realism is to recognise that in disagreements, the principal difference is not usually between one side that is rational and the other side that isn't. It's more often between 2 sides that are biased in different directions. That is, most people on both sides of an issue arrive at their opinions with roughly similar amounts of rationality. One side may be more correct than the other, but this is rarely the reason that someone holds to that opinion. This phenomenon of holding opinions for irrational reasons is well illustrated by religious apologists. Many who argue for their religion will do so by presenting arguments and evidence in support of their faith. But it is rare to find a religious person who actually came to their religion based on these arguments, including those who present these arguments. Most apologists acknowledge that they came to their faith for emotional, traditional, or other irrational reasons, but their position is bolstered by argument and evidence. The same process happens for most political and social positions. While people on either side of the issue of abortion, gay marriage, or any other contentious issue will put forth argument and evidence to try and convince those on the other side, most people originally came to their position for less than completely rational reasons. We are all influenced by our experiences, our upbringing, and the mix of cultures and subcultures we are exposed to. If we have not thoroughly investigated an issue, then we tend to have uninformed and biased opinions. That's not to say that neither side is correct, nor that rational opinion is impossible, but rather that the vast majority of people do not hold perfectly unbiased opinions. A useful rule of thumb is to generally assume that other people are as rational as we are, and that if they hold a belief that is different from ours, it's probably because they've been exposed to different facts, different experiences, and have different expectations for the world. That is, if we are equally informed, then we are probably equally biased. This is, however, only a starting point. Once we've examined the reasons that someone actually has for holding their beliefs, we can then assess how rational they actually are. It's just usually accurate to start by assuming that they are being reasonable rather than assuming that they aren't. In conclusion, the second tenet of naive realism is the tendency to assume that others who disagree with you do so because they are less rational. Until next week, may your mental mistakes be minor.